Hi, this is Dee Dee with Innovative Financial. Today, we're talking about reviewing your health insurance, life insurance, and some other insurance policies as well. We're getting close to an open enrollment season now, and it's a good time to take a look to see what you have. Is it still a good fit? Do you understand what your coverage is? And maybe is it time to make changes? So let's start with some health insurance things that you should consider. First of all, do you get health insurance coverage through your employer? Like I said, this is about the time of year when open enrollments begin to happen. We're at late summer right now as we record this, but it can happen anytime. Depends on when your employer chooses to do so. Be sure you understand what your choices are and match the coverage to your personal needs. The other thing about employer coverage is it may be that both you and your husband or spouse have health insurance coverage through two different employers. Be sure and look at the different coverages that are available for you under each and the relative contributions. You may find that having different insurance, one each through their own employer, can be less expensive than both of you on one because of how the insurance is billed out and how much the copays are. Do keep an eye out for HSA accounts, the health savings accounts, especially if you're over 50. If you have HSA coverage, you can put an additional deferral in there, but only if you have your separate account. If you keep your HSA money in a joint family account, only one of you can put that extra catch-up contribution. So you may need to open up a separate HSA account for the spouse that doesn't have the primary insurance. If you find that you're getting your health insurance, you're paying for it yourself, maybe you're getting it through the marketplace. Depending on where you live and which policy you have, it may just automatically renew, but it's always wise to review what you're getting each year to make sure that the coverage is correct. Has your doctors changed? Has your family size changed? Make sure that the copays and out-of-pocket expenses still work for you in your situation. We're in an environment right now where people have lost jobs. They may be eligible for Medicaid rather than regular health insurance. Absolutely worth looking into. If you are over 65, you are probably on Medicare. That has some certain things you might want to look into as well, especially if you're moving from one state to another. Most Medicare insurance coverages are state specific. Not all of them, but most of them are. So if you're moving, you're going to need to look into what coverages are available to you and choose the one that works for you. Part D, the part that covers drugs, has a tendency to change from year to year. So be sure and review your medicine needs and compare that to what's being covered on your Part D. And if you find yourself, you've just lost your creditable drug coverage, those, you know who you are. Not everybody knows what that means, but you know who you are. Be sure that you sign up for Part D within 63 days so that you can avoid those lifetime penalties. So if you're leaving an employer's plan that had creditable, gosh, I can barely say that, creditable drug coverage, you've got 63 days to sign up without incurring that lifelong penalty that you would be subject to otherwise. So those are kind of the topics on health insurance. Switch gears now. Let's talk about life insurance. First of all, do you need it? And the question I always ask clients is, if you were no longer on the planet, are there people that are still living that would be financially impaired by your not being here? That's really the first blush. That's what life insurance is for. And now let's look at what might happen if you're not here. It could be that college or even raising children would have a financial shortfall. Those are perfect reasons to have insurance. Or maybe paying off the mortgage, another thing that insurance can help you with. There might be a change at work. You maybe got more or less life insurance through your job. That might change how much you need to buy on your own outside of that. Maybe you've purchased some permanent life insurance in the past. You know, if you haven't looked at that policy in a few years, it's a really good time to request an in-force illustration to see how the policy's been performing and if it's still meeting the needs for which you purchased it in the first place. It's good to know what the current premiums are, how the dividends are being used, and really just see how the cash is accumulating. If you happen to own term insurance, check it out, double check what's going on, how many years left on the policy, is it still doing what you need it to do? Maybe you're approaching the end of a policy, you might need some more insurance, or maybe not. Maybe you can let it lapse and that's okay. If the policy has conversion options, really good time to check and see what the terms of conversion might be, what those options are. And then a very unusual policy is an annually renewable term insurance. Review the policy premium and see if it's the most cost effective. Rates have been coming down on life insurance, so it might be time to review that and maybe even get a new policy in force. And finally, beneficiaries. Do you still have the appropriate beneficiaries? It might be that you need an ILET. If you don't know what an ILET is, you reach out and we will tell you all about it. But it's a way to get money to your heirs without incurring additional taxes via the estate tax rules. So that's life insurance. Since I've got you here, a couple more insurance topics I thought we'd cover while we're talking about it. This next one is disability insurance. Has there been a change in your employer coverage? This is a less common insurance available to folks who have bigger employers, but those coverages change. Get educated on what those changes are. And is it adequate? The amount that's provided by the employer has limits, and they may also have coverage limitations. So if you become eligible for Social Security, it may offset some of the benefits from the employer provided disability insurance. Once you have that offset, you may discover that there's a gap between the coverage if you're disabled and your ongoing costs. Additionally, disability insurance isn't always portable. Like when you leave your employer, you can't always take it with you. And if you have a situation where your insurance is not portable, this is a good time to consider taking out insurance that you've purchased independently. And while you have the policy out, make sure you review the terms. Make sure you understand how it's going to work. What is your waiting period? It can be as few as a couple of weeks or as long as 6 months, even a year, depends on the coverage. Understand what their definition of disability is. How many activities of daily living have to be impaired for you to be eligible, and how much coverage amount is there? And then if there is a total disability, make sure you review all of your income sources, both Social Security, employer disability policies, and individual policies, to make sure that your expenses are covered in the event of a disability. And honestly, people think insurance and they think life insurance. Disability insurance is used more often and incredibly valuable. I encourage you to consider it. One last general type of insurance we're going to talk about right now is long-term care insurance. Years ago, we might have called this nursing home insurance or all sorts of not very, very wonderful words for this. Luckily, we now have more choices when it comes to long-term care. If you've got a policy, check it out. See what it covers. If it's from a long time ago, it actually may only cover nursing homes. As time has gone on, these policies have evolved and they can cover home care, assisted living, and nursing home care, depending on the level of need. Understand what the benefit amount is. It a fixed amount or inflation adjusted? Frankly, inflation around long-term care has been high over the last 20 years. And if your policy is older, it may be inadequate at this point. And then be sure to review the specific features that you have. What's the elimination period or waiting period? How long do you have to wait before it kicks in? Are there any discounts? Is there a waiver of premium if you're disabled? What inflation raters do you have? Just look at it. And then, have you received any notices of a premium increase? First of all, you're not alone. A lot of the folks providing the long-term care insurance policies have had to raise the rates. They've had a higher claims experience than they ever figured. They thought people would buy it, give up after a while, and let the policies lapse. What's really happened is the people who buy the long-term care policies are the ones who are planning and doing a really good job. They buy it, they meant to buy it, they did it very specifically, and they've left it in place. So the insurance companies miscalculated it a little bit. Hard to know when you're just starting out with a new product. So that has resulted in increased rates for many, many folks. If you're getting that increased rate, that's a great time to review the policy, like I say, and maybe even get some competing bids for other policies to see if maybe changing carriers or changing policy structure is right for you. And finally, think about the insurance companies that you use. Check to see if there's bundling discounts. I mean, we all see the TV ads about the bundling, I suspect. So it's always worth it to ask about that. But also, you can hop online and check this financial strength of the companies that you're getting your insurance through and make sure that their financial strength is staying steady. That is what I've got for you today. I've got a great checklist. If you'd like to be in the dirt on this, down nitty gritty, I will be happy to get this checklist out to you. Just shoot us an email here at Innovative Financial. And thank you for joining me today as we talk about reviewing your insurance policies. Have a lovely day.